living in a strange moment in human history. Not because machines can talk, not because computers can write, but because answers have become effortless. For most of human existence, answers were rare. Information traveled slowly. Knowledge was guarded by distance, time, and access. To learn something, you had to ask another human. You had to read a book. You had to wait. Waiting itself acted as a filter. Today, that filter is gone. You can ask a machine almost anything, at any time of day, and within seconds, it produces a response. The response sounds confident. It sounds articulate. It often sounds reasonable. And yet, many people feel unsettled. Despite having more information than ever before, people report feeling more confused, more overwhelmed, and less certain about what to do next. This contradiction is not accidental. It is a signal. It is tempting to believe that confusion comes from bad answers. But that is not what is happening. The answers are often good. Sometimes they are excellent. Sometimes they are better than what a hurried human might produce. And yet, clarity does not follow. This tells us something important. Confusion is not caused by lack of information. It is caused by lack of orientation. Orientation means knowing what matters, what does not, and what to do next. AI gives information. It does not give orientation. Humans used to gain orientation slowly, through effort, through mistakes, through lived experience. Now, information arrives instantly, but orientation still takes time. That gap is where discomfort lives. When AI entered everyday life, we focused on one question only. How do we use it? How do we prompt it? How do we integrate it? How do we speed things up? That was a reasonable first step. But we skipped a more important question. How should humans think in a world where answers are abundant? We assumed that thinking would remain unchanged. That assumption was wrong. Every time the cost of effort changes, human behavior changes. AI radically reduces the cost of producing answers. That forces a change in what it means to think, to decide, and to take responsibility. AIYING exists to respond to this shift. It is not a tool. It is not software. It is not a productivity hack. AIYING is a way of working with AI that keeps human judgment at the center. The word accomplishing is deliberate. AI can generate outputs. Only humans can accomplish outcomes. Accomplishment involves intent, context, and responsibility. AIYING is about preserving these in an age where answers arrive too easily. This reflection is intentionally slow. There is no urgency here, no optimization goal, no pressure to act immediately. This is a space to recalibrate. To understand AI, it helps to look at history. Every major technology replaces a specific kind of human effort. The steam engine replaced muscle work. Human strength became less central. Electricity replaced manual energy distribution. Work became scalable. Computers replaced repetitive calculation. Accuracy and speed improved dramatically. Each time this happened, society adjusted. But not instantly. People had to relearn what skills mattered, where value shifted, and how responsibility changed. AI is no different. AI replaces memory work. Not memory as identity, not memory as experience, but memory as labor. The labor of recalling facts, matching patterns, summarizing information, and recombining ideas. For a long time, we equated intelligence with memory. The person who remembered more was seen as more capable. AI breaks that association. A machine can now recall more than any human ever could. That does not make it wise. It makes it fast. AI does not understand meaning. It does not know truth. It does not possess awareness. AI recognizes patterns in vast amounts of human created data. Patterns in language, patterns in reasoning, patterns in behavior. When AI speaks fluently, it is not because it understands. It is because similar sequences have appeared many times before. This is why AI can sound insightful and still be wrong. Fluency is not judgment. In the early days, we misunderstood AI. We treated it like a search engine, then like an oracle, then like a knowledgeable assistant. Each metaphor was incomplete. AI is not retrieving truth. AI is generating plausible continuations. Once this becomes clear, a subtle shift happens. We stop asking, what answer is correct? And begin asking, what answer should I accept? That question cannot be outsourced. Once AI handles patterns, the human role becomes clearer. Humans are responsible for choosing goals, setting constraints, and judging consequences. AI can assist, but it cannot decide what matters. This is not a limitation of current models. It is a structural boundary. No matter how advanced AI becomes, judgment remains a human responsibility. That is where AIYING begins. In the next section, we will look at why most attempts to use AI productively actually increase anxiety. Not because people are doing it wrong, but because judgment has not caught up with capability. This is where the productivity trap begins. When I entered everyday work, the first instinct was speed. How do we do things faster? How do we automate tasks? How do we save time? This instinct is understandable. Every major technology in history was first adopted as a productivity tool. But something unusual happened with AI. Instead of feeling relieved, many people felt more pressure. They were no longer just expected to work well. They were expected to work faster, with better outputs, and with fewer excuses. AI did not reduce expectations. It raised them. AI creates the impression that almost anything is possible. Write this. Analyze that. Summarize everything. Generate more options. When capability feels infinite, choice becomes exhausting. Instead of asking, what should I do? People begin asking, what could I do? That shift is subtle, but dangerous. Possibility expands faster than purpose. Without strong judgment, more options do not feel empowering. They feel paralyzing. When discomfort appears, people look for better tools. A new model, a better prompt, a smarter workflow. But tools do not resolve confusion. They amplify whatever thinking is already present. If thinking is clear, tools feel helpful. If thinking is vague, tools feel overwhelming. This is why people can use the same AI system and have completely different experiences. The difference is not intelligence, it is orientation. AI produces outputs, summaries, drafts, lists, plans, but outcomes belong to humans. An outcome requires a decision, a commitment, and responsibility for consequences. When people confuse output with outcome, work feels busy but hollow. AI can generate 10 strategies. Only a human can choose one. AI can draft many versions. Only a human can decide which matters. Productivity tools optimize output. AIYING focuses on outcome. In many professions, the nature of work has already changed. Before AI, effort was visible. Time spent signaled value. Now, output is easy to generate. Evaluation becomes the real work. This creates a silent shift. Those who can judge well become more valuable. Those who only generate become interchangeable. AI did not remove human value, it relocated it. Many people report feeling busier after adopting AI. This seems counterintuitive, but it makes sense. AI removes friction from starting tasks, not from finishing decisions. So more things are started. More drafts exist. More options are open. Without strong judgment, nothing closes. Work expands to fill attention. Busyness is not caused by too much work. It is caused by too few decisions. Traditional productivity advice focuses on action. Make lists, optimize workflows, improve efficiency. AI exposes a deeper requirement. Before action, judgment must occur. What deserves attention? What can be ignored? What should be delayed? What must be decided now? AI cannot answer these questions. They are situational, contextual, and human. This is where most productivity systems fail. They optimize execution without strengthening judgment. AIYING does not start with tools. It starts with thinking. It does not promise speed. It promises steadiness. AIYING assumes that answers are abundant, attention is scarce, and judgment is the bottleneck. By restoring judgment before and after AI interaction, AIYING reduces noise without reducing capability. This is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. Now that we understand why tools alone cannot solve the problem, we can look at the structure AIYING proposes. Three phases. Simple on the surface, demanding in practice. In the next part, we will look closely at the AIYING framework itself and why its simplicity is intentional. At this point, we have seen why AI creates confusion despite offering powerful capabilities. The problem is not intelligence. The problem is orientation. When answers become easy, thinking becomes fragile. A framework is needed not to control AI, but to stabilize human judgment. AIYING provides that stabilization through a simple structure. Not complicated, not technical, but deliberate. The AIYING framework has three phases: thinking, asking, judging. At first glance, this may appear obvious. But that is precisely the point. In complex environments, simple structures endure. Complex frameworks break when conditions change. AIYING does not attempt to predict how AI will evolve. It focuses on what remains constant: human responsibility. The first phase is thinking. This phase happens before any interaction with AI. It is the phase of clarification. What am I trying to accomplish? What decision am I responsible for? What constraints shape this situation? Thinking sets direction. Without this phase, AI produces content without purpose. Thinking does not require AI. It requires attention. This phase is quiet, often uncomfortable, and easy to skip. That is why it matters. The second phase is asking. This is where AI is invited in. Asking is not typing a command, it is shaping a conversation. The quality of asking depends entirely on the clarity of thinking. Clear intent leads to useful responses. Vague intent leads to noise. Asking is iterative, but it is never random. Each question builds on judgment, not curiosity alone. The third phase is judging. This phase happens after AI produces an output. Judging is not fact checking alone, it is contextual evaluation. Does this answer fit the situation? Does it align with goals? Does it create risk or reduce it? AI cannot perform this step. Judgment involves consequence, and AI has none. This is the phase where humans remain indispensable. The order of these phases is not flexible. Thinking must come first. Judging must come last. When the order is reversed, confusion follows. When people ask before thinking, they drown in options. When people skip judging, they outsource responsibility. AIYING enforces order not through rules, but through discipline. AIYING is not linear. Thinking informs asking. Asking generates material. Judging feeds back into thinking. Each cycle improves clarity. Over time, people ask fewer questions, but better ones. They rely less on volume and more on judgment. This is how AI becomes supportive, not overwhelming. Now that the framework is clear, we can slow down and examine each phase in depth. In the next part, we will explore the first phase, thinking, because it is the most neglected and the most important. Thinking has always been difficult to observe. Effort is visible, action is visible, output is visible, thinking is not. For a long time, this did not matter. Effort itself acted as proof of thinking. If someone worked hard, we assumed they had thought carefully. AI breaks that assumption. AI allows action without thinking. It allows output without clarity. As a result, thinking becomes invisible at exactly the moment it becomes most important. Thinking is uncomfortable. It requires sitting with uncertainty. It requires resisting immediate action. It requires acknowledging limits. AI offers relief from this discomfort. Instead of deciding, we can ask. Instead of clarifying, we can generate. This creates a habit of avoidance. The more powerful AI becomes, the more tempting it is to skip thinking altogether. AIYING exists to counter that temptation. Many people confuse thinking with planning. Planning focuses on steps, thinking focuses on direction. Planning answers, how will I do this? Thinking answers, should I do this at all? AI is excellent at planning. It is poor at direction. If direction is unclear, plans multiply without meaning. Thinking must come before planning, or plans become noise. Thinking begins with accomplishment, not activity, not productivity. Accomplishment. Accomplishment asks, what change do I want to bring about? What will be different if this succeeds? AI can generate actions. Only humans can define accomplishment. Without this clarity, AI assistance becomes aimless. You move faster, but not forward. Thinking also involves responsibility. Who owns the outcome? Who bears the consequence if this fails? AI has no stake in outcomes. It does not face consequences. It does not absorb blame. It does not learn from regret. Humans do. Thinking is the moment where responsibility is acknowledged before action begins. Skipping this step creates risk disguised as efficiency. Thinking requires constraints. Unlimited possibility feels empowering, but it weakens judgment. Constraints force prioritization. Time constraints, ethical constraints, contextual constraints. AI can work within constraints, but it cannot choose them. Choosing constraints is a human act of judgment. Without constraints, thinking dissolves into exploration. When intent is vague, AI compensates with volume. More options, longer explanations, broader coverage. This feels helpful at first. But volume is not clarity. Clear thinking produces quiet output. Vague thinking produces noisy output. This is a reliable signal. If AI responses feel overwhelming, the problem is usually upstream. Thinking was incomplete. Exploration has value, but endless exploration is often disguised avoidance. AI makes exploration effortless. You can ask follow up questions endlessly without committing to a direction. This creates the illusion of progress. But exploration without judgment delays accomplishment. Thinking involves deciding when exploration must stop. That decision is human. AI excels at generation. Humans must excel at selection. Selection means choosing what to keep and what to ignore. Thinking is an act of exclusion. Every choice excludes alternatives. This feels uncomfortable. AI removes the pain of exclusion by keeping all options alive. Thinking restores that pain because it restores responsibility. When thinking is skipped, several patterns appear. People feel busy but unsatisfied. Decisions feel reversible when they are not. Outputs accumulate without closure. AI accelerates all of these patterns. Speed amplifies confusion when direction is missing. This is why AIYING insists that thinking must happen first, even when it feels slow. Thinking is a pause, not a delay. A pause. A pause creates space between stimulus and response. AI collapses that space. AIYING restores it. That pause is where judgment forms. Strong thinking is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not seek validation. It results in fewer questions, clearer asks, and faster judgment later. Strong thinking reduces total effort even if it increases initial effort. This is the paradox AIYING embraces. Now that we understand why thinking matters and why it is difficult, we can move to the next phase. Asking AI is powerful only when thinking has done its work. In the next part, we will examine asking and judging together and close the AIYING loop. Asking AI is powerful only after thinking has done its work. Without thinking, asking becomes guessing. With thinking, asking becomes deliberate. This distinction matters. AI responds faithfully to the structure of the question. If the question lacks direction, the response lacks usefulness. Asking is not an entry point. It is a second step. AI is not issuing commands. It is designing a dialogue. Every question carries assumptions. Every prompt implies a role for AI. Are you asking AI to explore, to compare, to critique, to refine? When these roles are unclear, AI fills the gap with volume. Clear asking reduces noise because it narrows intent. This is why asking feels easier after thinking. Thinking provides boundaries. Asking works within them. Much attention is given to prompt engineering. Prompts matter, but not in isolation. A well crafted prompt cannot compensate for vague intent. When thinking is strong, even simple prompts work. When thinking is weak, even advanced prompts fail. This is why chasing prompts really brings lasting clarity. AIYING treats prompts as expressions of judgment, not magic formulas. Asking AI is iterative. Each response informs the next question. But iteration is not accumulation. More questions do not automatically mean better understanding. Iteration must converge. At some point, asking must give way to judging. Knowing when to stop asking is a human skill. AI cannot tell you when enough is enough. Judging begins when AI produces output. This is the most critical phase. Judging is not about correctness alone. It is about fit. Does this answer fit the context? Does it align with the goal? Does it respect constraints? Does it introduce risk? AI cannot answer these questions. They belong to the human who acts. Judging feels heavy because it carries consequence. Accepting an answer means owning its outcome. Rejecting an answer means choosing uncertainty. Refining an answer means investing effort. AI has no burden here. Humans do. This weight is not a flaw. It is the price of responsibility. Judging AI is not about mistrust. It is about maturity. Trust without judgment is dependence. Judgment without trust is paralysis. AIYING aims for balance. AI contributes capability. Humans contribute judgment. Together, they enable accomplishment. When judgment is skipped, patterns emerge. People forward AI outputs uncritically. Decisions feel outsourced. Mistakes feel externalized. Responsibility becomes blurry. This is not sustainable. AIYING restores clarity by making judgment explicit. AIYING is a loop, not a sequence. Thinking shapes asking. Asking generates material. Judging feeds back into thinking. Each cycle improves orientation. Over time, you rely less on volume and more on clarity. You ask fewer questions, but better ones. You generate less, but decide more confidently. With practice, AIYING changes how work feels. Work becomes calmer. Decisions feel grounded. Attention feels protected. AI becomes a partner, not a pressure. You stop reacting to answers and start directing outcomes. This shift is subtle but profound. AIYING is not mastered once. It is practiced repeatedly. Each new situation requires fresh thinking. Each new decision demands renewed judgment. This is not inefficiency, it is professionalism. We live in an age where answers are abundant. What is scarce is judgment. AI will continue to improve. Capabilities will expand. Outputs will multiply. The human role will not disappear. It will concentrate in choosing, in deciding, in taking responsibility. AIYING exists to support that role. This channel is a library, not a feed. Return when needed. In an age of too many answers, judgment becomes the skill that matters most. Before we end, it is worth pausing again. Not to summarize, not to conclude, but to notice something subtle. Throughout this reflection, nothing here asked you to do more. There was no call to optimize, no demand to accelerate. That is intentional. AI has already accelerated enough. What needs protection now is human pace. Speed feels efficient, but speed has a cost. When everything happens quickly, we stop noticing transitions. Decisions blur into actions. Actions blur into outcomes. AI collapses distance between thought and execution. That collapse is powerful. It is also dangerous when judgment has no time to form. AIYING is not resistance to speed. It is a reminder that speed must remain a choice. In many cultures, calm is mistaken for disengagement. Quiet thinking is mistaken for delay. Reflection is mistaken for indecision. AIYING challenges that assumption. Calm is not the absence of work, it is the presence of orientation. A calm system can move decisively because it knows where it is going. An anxious system moves constantly without arriving. AI does not make systems calm. Judgment does. As AI becomes more capable, human value does not disappear. It changes shape. Human value concentrates in areas machines cannot occupy. Choosing what matters, deciding what to ignore, taking responsibility for outcomes. These are not technical skills. They are human commitments. AIYING exists to keep these commitments visible. Tools will change, models will improve, interfaces will evolve, capabilities will expand. AIYING does not depend on any specific tool. It depends on discipline. The discipline to think before asking. The discipline to judge before acting. This discipline does not expire. It becomes more valuable as tools become more powerful. If you listen again, You may notice something different. The ideas do not demand agreement. They invite practice. AIYING is not a position to defend. It is a posture to adopt. You may apply it unevenly. You may forget it under pressure. That is normal. Practice is not perfection. It is return. This reflection does not end in a conclusion because thinking does not end. Each situation reopens the loop. Thinking, asking, judging, again and again, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, sometimes consciously, sometimes intuitively. The loop is always available. If this audio loops, that is fine. There is no beginning that must be remembered, no ending that must be reached. This is a space to return to when answers feel loud and judgment feels quiet. In an age of too many answers, the ability to pause becomes a form of intelligence. Judgment remains human. That is enough.